AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Shameer Khader. Shameer is the Senior Director of Data Science, Digital Health and Bioinformatics at AstraZeneca. Shameer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, JP. Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for joining us. So let's start, Shameer, with yourself. Can you give us a background of your journey through technology, where you first got started, what was your interests, and talk us through some of the interesting roles you've held along the way, taking us up to before you joined AstraZeneca?
Sure. I wanted to be a physician back in the days, and also a fashion designer, and also a management expert. This is straight after my high school. I was between these three different choices, but then I didn't choose any of those. I decided to be a software engineer. And then what happened was to get to a program in computer science, I have to get an undergrad, and only after master's you could go to jobs back in the days then. And then I was doing my undergrad in physics, and then I'm always excited and curious about other parts of science or other development in science. And I heard this particular subject called bioinformatics. It kind of piqued my interest, and really in a way that that's all about developing software, but instead of developing software for banks and air travel, you could develop software that could ultimately save lives. So that was quite an exciting thing for me, because I don't really like financial domain, and I don't want it to be a software engineer who code bank software back then. I was lucky to be part of a master's program in my home state. Did that, finished that with summa cum laude, and then was able to find a job as more of a research trainee. And then I realized that instead of going into a career in this one, probably need to go back to grad school. And I did my grad school at National Center for Biological Sciences in Bangalore, lovely city, spent 4.5 years there. And I was really exposed to a wide variety of topics, from protein science to artificial intelligence, from artificial intelligence to cancer biology. Quite a journey, a tremendous learning opportunity. And I had one particular part of my thesis were to develop tools, methods, and algorithms. And the first machine learning algorithm that I developed back in 2006. So I'm an AI practitioner since then. And interestingly, did my PhD, and after that I moved to the US. I did my postdoctoral fellowship at the Mayo Clinic, and I continued to work there. Spent another 3 years at Icahn Institute as part of the Mount Sinai Health System. Had short stint at Philips Healthcare and Northwell Health, and I'm right now with AstraZeneca. But I'll also tell you a little bit tidbit about the AstraZeneca journey. When I was right after my master's, I sent in an application to be an intern at AstraZeneca. I didn't get it. And now I had to wait for 14 years, a PhD, and all this training. So if any of you students or trainees out there listening to this, hold on to your dreams. It'll happen.
Thank you so much for that, Shameer. There's so much to unwrap from that introduction alone. Not only the early decision-making process of quite a few different career opportunities, but we're glad you've landed where you have. Shameer, could you give us some insight into some of the challenging problems that you've solved during your career utilizing AI and machine learning?
Around 2 years back or 3 years back, I had to submit some of my sort of a quantum of my work to United States Immigration Office, and I actually did counted different number of models that I have published, and it's actually I've published maybe around 70 publications so far. Out of that, 50 of them are on a method or tool or algorithms, and these are all peer-reviewed, published models we're talking about. In addition to that, enterprise scale, so there are a lot of modeling work has been done to improve. These are not never published actually. So if I may pick a few from that, that library of models that I've done. Definitely the first one that I've done on protein aggregation. This is to identify whether a given protein could form aggregates and could lead to, potentially neurodegenerative diseases. That's one of the first model that I've developed using support vector machines and random forest. This is back in 2005. There was no TensorFlow. There is no AWS back then. We were talking about a while ago. And then again, as my career proceeds, I work also on modeling using fairly large number of data sets. This include modeling across genome and phenome, like both clinical data as well as genomic data. And then at Mount Sinai, I was leading this hospital big data initiative. This is basically leverage hospital big data to improve patient safety. And one of that model, if there is a top 10 list for predictive models in AI in medicine, probably it would have been authored by none other than Dr. Ori Topol. So the one of that model, actually, my work from Mount Sinai actually featured in one of his review article, and that was for using electronic health record data, the EHR-wide data, rather than a subset of data. Let's use all of this data to predict probabilities of patient readmission. So that's again was quite an interesting model that I've done. I continue to do a lot more work in the biomedicine space, including predicting reproducibility of small and large molecule. And again, these days I'm working on using clinical trial data. Can we use the historical trial data to basically inform and improve, and as well as trying to see that the trajectory of whether it's patient enrollment or patient dropout from clinical trial data sets. So it's been a long list of problems that's been in a way tried to solve using AI and ML.
Before getting to AstraZeneca, you mentioned a few of the company names there. You've worked for some incredibly prestigious firms early on, which has obviously built up to you securing the role at AZ. So can you talk to us about how it transpired that you transitioned from what was a great role with Northwell Health as the Director of Data Science, and how you landed at AstraZeneca sort of as the Senior Director leading digital science, digital health, data science, advanced analytics, and bioinformatics?
So definitely, I have to maybe go a little bit back here to my days at the Mayo Clinic. The reason I came to Mayo was doing a lot of protein science, protein informatics, designing and developing predictive models using proteomic data back in the days, and then I realized that there is an emerging need in genomics, and human genomics is about to take off. And I still remember there was this day where I was talking to my supervisor, Dr. Ramanathan Sudhamini, that we had two back-to-back talks where Dr. Atul Butte and Dr. Eric Green was coming to our institute just one day. They kind of changed my entire life. I listened to Atul and realized that human genomics is the next big thing. I need to get there. I need to do a postdoc in that subject. I did, send a postdoctoral application to Atul, got rejected. But then I was lucky to join Dr. Iftikhar Kolo's lab at the Mayo Clinic. And they were looking for somebody with the background that I have, data analytics, data science. It was not called data science back then. Machine learning was there, or fussy pattern matching. These were the cool names for data science back then. And they have access to a large amount of not just genomic data from patients, but also have access to de-identified patient data. So I really got a heads up with that type of analytics, like to work with electronic health record and genomic data from the get-go. So this was part of one of world's first precision medicine or personalized genomics consortium called Electronic Medical Records and Genomics. And I was part of that. I was a lead bioinformatics scientist for a clinical trial called MyGenes, where we tested whether providing genomic information would have an immediate impact on a health outcome. And we designed a study in a way that one arm would receive a traditional cardiovascular risk score, for example, Framingham risk score, and the other arm would receive what we call as a polygenic risk score. And then, we did a baseline measurement, gave this information, designed a shared decision-making software system, and then put the entire cohort through that system and told them to come back after 6 months. And then what happened was, very interestingly, the patient cohort or the subset that received high polygenic risk score was able to reduce their cholesterol level. And we were thinking, what happened to them? And actually, what happened was, as part of a shared decision-making system, we gave them a choice for statin initiation. So those patients without any prior cardiac complication, but who got this particular indication that you have a genetic risk for cardiovascular disease, they started taking statin, and we saw an outcome, a measurable clinical outcome in their cholesterol level. That was quite revealing for me. That was like, you can take analytics and see an impact at the point of care. And I've done that and did a lot of work in that space. Also did a lot of molecular deep dives into different disease models, like, for example, peripheral arterial disease, aortic aneurysms, pancreatic cancer, ovarian cancer, and did a lot of collaborative projects there. But then I realized when I was there, that maybe, I'm doing a lot of work for preclinical part, but I'm not able to connect this to what we call a drug discovery. And that's the point. Dr. Atul Butte's student, Joel Dudley, was about to start a group at Mount Sinai. And Joel was kind enough to give me an offer. And I still remember that day when we met, he told me that, hey, Joel, what should I work on? And he told me, whatever you want to work on. And I'm like, this kid in the candy store, wow, that's excellent. Because Mayo Clinic we had access to data, but at the same time, it often require quite, the systems and methods were quite extensive that we need to spend a lot of time to do pre-processing and everything. But here, what Joel has done was really got a database of de-identified patient data that we could now leverage to ask any kind of questions we want. So I had a home run at Mount Sinai. I spent 2.5 years, and I still, to this date, we're still publishing results from that 2.5 years that I spent with Joel Dudley. So that was quite an amazing run. And when I was at Joel, I was doing some projects, that are contract projects from pharma and others, and I've been contacted by someone from Philips and asking me if you would be interested to come on board to help them to get a genomic medicine product to the market. So I joined Philips, spent more than a year and helping them with two main themes in their precision medicine offering, as well as their connected health, and worked with a variety of clients across the globe, including a lot of pharma companies. So if you remember, I started with precision medicine, moved to the drug discovery, drug repositioning part, and then came back again to precision medicine. But then I was missing, that sort of environment of really doing drug discovery part. And at this point, I spent quite a long engagement, and Northwell Health actually asked me whether if I'm interested to come on board and build a data science team for them. And I couldn't say no, because Northwell Health is, probably one of the largest health system in the country with 6 million patients. And then to build a data science team, and show early ROI for that was quite an offer I couldn't reject. I took the offer, I built the team, we showed a bit of an early ROI, and was doing quite well. And at that point of time, I've been, I've got a contact from AstraZeneca. Hey, what if you could lead a whole global team for data science and AI at AstraZeneca? And I've been waiting for 14 years. for a call from AstraZeneca. I couldn't again reject that. And just people would say, once you go to industry, coming back to academia or in academic medical centers is difficult, and then going back to industry would be difficult. I would say it's not like that. It's up to their passion. I was passionate about bringing this technology to improve patient lives, and I'm continuing to do that.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk about the journey and how long it's taken, and talk about applying and it not working out, and just persevering on what you wanted to accomplish, because it's not a straight line to a destination. There's often different routes and things pop up, but it sounds like you've landed where you've always wanted to be, so that's all worked out well. So talk to us now about your role at AZ. You've been there since September 2018. Your title covers quite a broad range of technology. So can you give us some insight into what your day job is like now, some of the interesting projects you're involved in?
Sure. I lead a team within data science and AI. I lead a clinical data science team where my team is broadly divided into two groups. One group support what we call as digital health project. This is, in a nutshell, trying to accelerate or optimize our clinical trials throughput using data, automation, and intelligence. On the other hand, my team and we also support research in the biopharma portfolio to support, how we can embed AI within the way we do drug discovery. It could be in preclinical, clinical, or post-clinical as well. So that's the mandate for my team. I run a global team, and as of today, we are around 14 members with representation in the US, UK, Mexico, and Russia and Poland right now. So it's a truly international team. And so in terms of the projects that we target, so we are interested to leverage large amount of clinical trial data, and then looking at clinical trial data and see if we can learn from the historical trial data to improve the trajectory of clinical trials in the future. So that's the kind of work we are doing. So that's one line of work we are doing. We're also interested in the problem of data integration, heterogeneous data integration. How can we bring this diverse set of data, whether it's genome, transcriptome, proteome, metabolome, or along with that clinical data, how can we bring that together in a single modular framework? Can we learn from that data? Can we model that data in a way that we can identify drivers of a disease or a new target, a therapy, or a pathway? So these are the two core themes that we are working on.
So your role is quite complex, and even more so when your team is spread out over 3 continents and 5 or 6 cities. But in the world of COVID, we're all fully remote for the near term anyway. But it would be great to understand how you go about managing an effective team, and then also still staying on top of the technology side yourself, because at its core, you're still a hands-on individual who enjoys getting involved in the project. So how do you get the balance between staying involved in the technology side, but also running multiple teams across multiple continents?
Yeah, sure. I should definitely give a shout out to Steve Jepson, my manager from back in the days from Philips, who's now a lead of AWS global practice, and also my current boss, Dr. Faisal Khan. They are my go-to management gurus, and especially I still remember how Steve used to run his 200-member team, global team, out of Boston and DC. So I've learned the art of that, managing a large, complex, and diverse team that, in a way, virtual and distributed team from the best in the industry. And then really it's about giving people the right kind of advice at the right time and right kind of tools to support them to do their job. So it's very simple, right? Like when you come to management at this type of projects, do they have the right skills? we typically assess that during the interview. We may need to do some, adjustment as they come in. They may like a different project and things like that. Do they have the right set of tools in terms of the computing resource, in terms of their, access to the data, and also additional resources to support to do their job. So these things really matters. And initially, to set up this in a remote or a virtual environment, it's a little bit difficult. But once we are up and running, things will move very, very smoothly. And at the same time, with the onset of COVID, now the whole world is kind of adjusting towards that, and it's and this is no longer this is now the new normal we are thinking about. It's no longer an exception. It's now the new normal. So yeah, so I should definitely give credits to both of them for their support and help that I received, much earlier in the roles that I've been with so far. And in terms of running a data science team, we really need, typically it involves a lot of coding, data wrangling, but at the same time, the real value is, where is your ROI? Is that model that you're building, is that actually bringing a value back to your business? We need to understand that. So for that, of course, I want to make sure that every member in my team have a clear vision of the business we are doing and the kind of KPIs we are looking at as well. So I really give them that, share that vision with them. I often have a weekly open huddle for my team. They can drop in as required, drop out as required. So just to keep that communication going. And definitely communication is the most important part as well. Yeah.
Shameer, looking ahead to all of the potential use cases for AI and ML, what do you see as the near and far implications of AI and ML in drug discovery?
We often talk about AI and ML could help with the end-to-end digital transformation of drug discovery. But I have a different opinion here. But what I'm thinking here, what's going to happen in terms of a near and far impact of these technologies would be like what I call as digital nudging. You could nudge every process or every step or every activity within the drug discovery using data and intelligence. And we are going to see that, whether this is in preclinical, clinical, or post-clinical, we are going to see a lot of algorithms doing a lot of automation, prediction, and data visualization. So I strongly believe we are moving towards that, future of digital nudging augmented by data and intelligence.
Can you give us some insight into what you love most about working for AZ, why you're so excited about the work that your team and AZ are doing, and more importantly, the impact that it's going to have on drug discovery and overall patient care in the long run?
Yeah, if I can summarize all of that in one word, AZ is, actually 3 words. AZ is amazing. Great culture. From the leadership, it's a great support for data science and AI activity. We are now a full-fledged department, and we support a variety of programs. Like I said, the goal of the data science and artificial intelligence team is really to be a hub that supports different programs, whether it's, like I mentioned, preclinical, clinical, or post-clinical. We are all about supporting projects and making sure that, embed the best of AI to accelerate, optimize, and innovate within the space that we're working on. And, for example, we are in the business of finding life-saving drugs. And if I could quote our CEO, Pascal Soriot, and he says that behind every data point there is a patient. That's our passion. We are all about patients and patient centricity. We are all about bringing life-saving medicines to the market.
And having such a clear vision of purpose really helps in motivating both individuals and team to strive for the end goal. Final question, Shameer. You've been building teams, successful teams, high-performing teams now for a number of years, and we've spoken in detail about the upcoming growth within your group and supporting teams at AZ. Can you give us some insight into how you see your department evolving over time, and speaking to an audience of people who would be potentially interested in working for you, for your peers and colleagues at AZ? Can you help us navigate that field? And thinking back to when you first had a goal to work in a particular space, for somebody who's viewing what you do and what your team does and thinks to themselves, I'd love to work there. What guidance and advice can you offer those people?
Yeah, definitely. We are even in this difficult times. We still have positions open in our data science in AI function, and you should if you're a new graduate, someone with experience and someone with experience in one of these different facets of data science, whether it's computer vision, text mining, natural language processing, automation, predictive modeling, statistical analysis, please consider AstraZeneca and join in our mission to make life-saving medicines. That would be my message, and you can get a whole lot of details and videos if you go to our website in the career section. If you go to the data science in AI, you can see a whole lot of useful information around this and all the open positions as well.
I think that's a great way to finish. And one final one, please go check out Shameer's speech and talk on YouTube. I was at TEDx, Shameer, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, very impressive. So great insight into your mind and some great knowledge to be had from that. Shameer, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you talking about not just your own journey, but the incredible things that you're doing at AZ. It sounds like an amazing place to work, and we look forward to seeing all that you guys can accomplish in the near future.
Thank you.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.